Still don't have your fan working yet?
The fan is on full blast. It is just hot in here.
Oh, okay.
All right, so we should be broadcasting, and I have no idea where though. It should be on YouTube somewhere.
Find out. Subscriptions, and I do not see it. Let's find you. Where are you? There we go. I found you.
Okay.
All right. You found your stream?
No, because I'm not subscribed to myself, so...
Alright, I just put it in the chat box there. I'll let these guys know.
Alright, can you, if you have a link to that, can you,
do you have the group chat open?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I already
seen
posted it over to these guys. Okay.
Okay. And anyone who's watching, sorry.
Alright, and they said it's working fine on YouTube. So...
Well...
Yeah, hopefully with Google buying Twitch, they'll integrate Google Hangouts into Twitch streaming.
Yeah, because, you know, I like the way this does camera switching, which is nice. I mean, it's easy to just set up, get a video conference going, and just spit it out onto YouTube. It's nice, it's easy, it's simple. Only problem is it doesn't have a community chat feature, as far as I'm aware, anyway.
Well, and, yeah, other than the comments, and the comments just don't auto-load.
Yeah,
like
right, but you have to keep going over there and refreshing it and things like that. So.
Making sure the video is still muted. And
okay, I am going to have to go T-shirt again because it is just too bloody hot in here, so sorry, folks. I'd like to be formal, but way too hot.
Oh, hey, I don't worry about formalities, so
yeah, right.
I'm not gonna...
I like your shirt anyway. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, let us start the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Super Podcast Action Committee, episode 108. We're on Google Plus now because Twitch is being dastardly. I didn't.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, that's Zachary. Hi, Zachary. I didn't change any of my settings, and no one could hear Zachary. So, yeah, we might be. You know, I hate to lose the cool chat feature, but maybe we'll try and get an IRC, or we'll look into Spreecast, or we'll look into something over the next week, because we'd really like to do this. We like the community. We like talking to you guys, but man, is Twitch being a pain.
So, we've tripled our active chat people over the last few episodes too, since we started doing this. So that's always nice, because I think the first time it was just 2 people, and now we've got like 6. So it's awesome.
Yeah. So, all right. Played any good games this week, Zachary? I'm just kind of frustrated and flustered. I may go out after the show.
Yeah. No, let's see. This week, you can pop out the chat window in Twitch. Okay. Well, this week I played 2 games, and I played them because I needed to review them. But one of them is called House of the Lost, and this one is developed by a studio called F5 Games, and based in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they released one of their mobile roguelike games on the Ouya, and I had to try it out on the Ouya because I tried playing it on my phone, and it was just absolutely terrible because I just really hate those stupid on-screen controls, and so I never made it very far, but then that got released on the Ouya Monday night, and so I tried it out and had a lot of fun. And it's like I said, it's a roguelike game. It's a lot. It's kind of like it plays kind of like The Binding of Isaac. I don't know if have you played that one?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it plays very much like that one.
But I have played it.
Of course. But it plays very much like that. The rooms, there's specific rooms, and it takes place in a haunted house, so I guess I should probably mention that. And you're an older brother whose little sister wandered off and into this haunted house and got captured by the monsters and stuff, so you got to go and rescue her. And I really like it. And he did something that isn't something I've ever seen before in really any game. The Ouya has the 4 face buttons, the O, U, Y, and A buttons, and each one of those is the attack button, but it attacks in the direction that corresponds to the placement on the pad. And so you can be free moving with the the analog stick, but attacking in a specific direction the whole time, which is really neat feature, something I've never seen before. And overall, I really suck at the game, so I'm constantly dying. I made it all the way to level 2's boss, and then died like as soon as I got in the room, and so yeah, I gotta keep trying that out. It has co-op play, and my kids just got home last night, and my wife and kids got home last night, and so I gotta try that out, see if my son wants to play it with me, see what it's like. And the other game that I played is also an Ouya release. It's from Juicy Beast, and it's called they made a game called Nightmare Tower, which I mentioned like podcasts ago, but they released a new game called Toto Temple Deluxe. It's a 4-player game, and the goal is there's this goat in the center of this room, and you have to capture the goat and keep it on your head for the longest amount of time. And so you have the ability to dash attack and hit the person who has the goat and take it from them, and there's all kinds of power-ups, and so I got that one. I got that one Tuesday, and the Juicy Beast guys, they sent me a free code because they liked me because I wrote some good stuff about Nightmare Tower, and so they sent me a free code, and nobody was home, so I was home alone all by myself, and I played the training levels, and that was about it. And so today we actually played as a family, and there was 4 of us, and we had a lot of fun. And I think it's going to be a game that we could definitely play a lot, kind of like Towerfall and Hidden in Plain Sight are 2 other 4-player games that we like playing on Ouya. So yeah, definitely some fun stuff there. What about you? What have you been playing?
Professor Layton and the Miracle Mask. I've just been putzing around with that for the week. Probably about 65% of the way through the game. I'm going to guess that the spoilers, but the game's a year old, so the game concerns the town of Montedor or something like that. And the masked gentleman is terrorizing the town. Who is the masked gentleman? My guess? It's probably Randall. I don't know.
I have no idea who that is. But
yeah, I'm going to be really it's the one guy who is not there. I mean, unless it's one of those Scream things where a bunch of people are in on it, it's probably Randall, but I hope it's someone else because that's just way too predictable. Randall's the guy that everyone knew in their childhood but is thought dead. So it's almost certainly going to be Randall because it can't be... The game isn't really saying, oh, could it be this person or could it be this person? Well, no, because they were all at the places where the masked gentleman was. It's like, well, it can't be Henry, it can't be Angela, because they were there, unless they're all in on it together. Reminds me of Unwound Future when Professor Layton, he has it's the Agatha Christie moment where Hercule Poirot or Sherlock Holmes or someone, the detective has everyone in the room is like, this is what happened and this is how it done, but it could have been done without a person in this room, and that person is you right there. Or isn't it Future Luke? Or should I say Clive? And dun dun dun. Oh my God! It was Future Luke. Is actually Clive. And I'm playing the game. I'm like, great. Who the hell is Clive? We know no Clive.
Yeah.
This is not very effective because we don't know who the hell Clive is. Oh.
Yeah.
Professor Layton 3, Unwound Future. It is the worst story in the history of stories. It's a great game. I love the game. It's charming as all get out. But my, oh my, is it dumb. But Miracle Mask is... Other than I'm going to be pretty disappointed if the masked gentleman turns out to be Randall, because that's just way too predictable. It's still a fun game. The puzzles are good, except for one that is incorrect. And there have been two others that one I screwed up because I didn't interpret the art correctly. One I screwed up because their description of the puzzle, that might have been a translation thing. I didn't think the description of the puzzle worked. I mean, from one point of view it does, but from my initial point of view it just didn't. Yeah, but you run into things like there's 150, 60, 70 puzzles in the game, so you run into that now and then. But yeah, it's a great game. I do sure love it. Other than that, working on a video. In fact, I was editing it this afternoon and laughing myself silly, so I enjoy it at least. I don't know how popular it's going to be with anyone else, but I recorded a voiceover. I had a friend record a voiceover, and she's only in it for like 2 seconds, but it makes me laugh. So hopefully it makes you all laugh too. So I'll probably have that finished, edited tonight, and have it up sometime tomorrow, Sunday. It's about Nintendo's recent financial results. They released their first quarter financial earnings results, and it's numbery fun. So look forward to that. Other than that, just been working. I have the Westminster Chorus is trying to drag me back up north to get into the competition cycle again. They're like, we need you in your strong bass voice. It's like, yeah, but you're up in Westminster, which is 100 miles north of me. You start rehearsal at 7 o'clock. I get off work at 7 o'clock, so by the time I get up there, you're done rehearsing. So, all right, can't do it. So, okay. Okay, so the poll for this week, and I don't have a picture of it. See, with Twitch and my broadcaster, I would have brought up an actual screenshot of the results, but ungat. The poll this week...
Screen share. Let me see if I can get that. But, yeah, keep going.
Oh, do you? Okay, yeah. So the poll this week asks, will the FCC preempt state laws that limit municipal broadband services? A little background on that. There are at least 20 states in the United States that have laws on the books that either make it impossible or make it really difficult for towns and cities to build and maintain their own broadband networks. And the reason you might want to see this is because it would introduce competition. At least these are our high hopes. You know, it introduces competition. It would be there. You go.
Yeah, you can see the poll on my screen. I don't know. It'd probably be better if it was on Andrew's screen because he's the one doing the talking. But still, you know, you can see the 60% for yes eventually and the 40% for no chance in hell. So there you go.
Yeah. So we only had 78 people vote. I don't know if this is just not an interesting topic, or as too late in the week, or no one knows what the hell I was talking about.
It could have been all three. So,
but 60% think that yes, eventually the FCC will strike down these laws, which would be nice because there are some rural areas that are underserved or not served at all. And the major ISPs in the areas, your Comcast, your Verizons, your Time Warner cables, aren't serving them because how much money, you know, they'd have to lay line and get it out there and service them. And believe it or not, these people exist. My mom, up until very recently, was one of them. And actually, she doesn't. Actually, I'm pretty sure she's satellite. I don't think she has wired broadband internet.
She lives in the podunk, or you know, out in the middle of nowhere. It's probably satellite is what she has.
Yeah.
Because my parents, they've switched between things like satellite internet and like big wireless broadband stuff, and really it's all crap. It's all terrible stuff. I don't really see any point in getting that kind of internet. I'd rather just do dial-up over having to deal with that, because boy, if the signal's not cutting out, they're throttling you out the wazoo because they can't handle anything more bandwidth heavy than Facebook, and that's without all the stupid autoplay videos on Facebook.
Yeah, one of the my favorite comment was from C Minor. Said, I would vote yes, but with a watered-down law with enough loopholes, wiggle room that it isn't. And, that's a probability too. And now I run into a little off topic here, but I run into an interesting issue where, in order to keep the file you shared on the screen, I clicked on your image, and now it looks like I have to click on me, then you, and me to switch back and forth. I don't know how to hand it back to Google Plus so that it's automated anymore.
Oh, lovely.
Crap. Little pull-down menu. No. Right click. No.
Hilarious.
Anyone in the chat know how to do that? So, I don't remember what I voted.
I voted that it's not going to happen. I don't think the FCC really has the jurisdiction to do that, because really it's all a state's issue. And while the federal government has no qualms with stepping in and taking over things that should be state issues, and they do it on a regular basis, it's just this is one of those things that it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. And anything that the FCC does do is going to be toothless and pointless, and so I'm not at all expecting them to come out with anything worthwhile, and definitely not anything that's going to actually work. The best thing to do is really it's going to have to be done on state level. Just do a whole grassroots thing and fight against these things, because there's actually a lot of success in trying to get municipal broadband through and shaming politicians who pass laws against it, because really all they're doing is they're writing a law that keeps a monopoly in place rather than allowing a true market to take form. So Yeah. And a lot of times it is the city itself that is the problem too, because they, like my town here, they signed up as under what they call a co-op, but really all it is it's a city supported monopoly, because the co-op they signed is basically gives the ISP here full run, and nobody else can come in to set up shop, because that would violate the co-op agreement, and that really sucks.
The other thing to consider is Tom Wheeler, the chairman of the FCC, is a former telecom lobbyist. Doesn't mean he's not taking his job seriously, or the enemy is running the show. But yeah, I mean, when it was announced that he was going to be running the thing, it's like, oh man, really? And no, I am not twerking on the show, you silly commenter. It's too hot for twerking.
Is this on YouTube?
Yeah, it's a YouTube comment.
Okay.
Which I'm having trouble getting to.
Yeah.
Because I'm not subscribed to myself, so I have a problem getting to my own thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Don't you just love that?
Yeah, well, that's why one of the, Google buying Twitch, it's like, oh man, Twitch is cumbersome enough. I don't need Google making it even worse.
Yeah.
So.
Did you get that comment about handing it back to Google Hangouts for the auto switching?
Nope. Who has it?
That would be.
Who chose to focus on? Okay.
Yeah.
There.
So.
Hey.
Hopefully that fixes it.
Cool. Yep. That worked.
All right.
Thank you, Nestor. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So, thank you everyone who voted in the poll. We'll have more polls next. Well, no, we will have one poll next week, as long as I think of something. And I'm not too lazy to write it.
Yeah.
So, all right, what's next on the show? Okay, so EA Access. So EA revealed EA Access, which is oh god, it's hot. EA Access, which is a game subscription plan for Xbox One. And here is how it works. You basically pay a monthly fee, $5 a month, or an annual fee, $30, which is a hell of a deal.
Half price, yeah, that's half price.
Sweet. And if you're a member, you get access to download and play, unlimited, however long you want, whenever you want, a bunch of different games. The beta currently has FIFA 14, Madden NFL 25, Pedal 2, and Battlefield 4, so games that are a year or so old, with more titles to be added soon. EA Access members also save 10% on purchases of EA digital content for the Xbox One, and they get access to games 5 days earlier. And, yeah.
Whole 5 days. Wow.
Yeah, well, hey, 5 days. Wouldn't you want to play Super Smash Brothers 5 days earlier, or your game of choice?
Too bad EA doesn't have Super Smash Brothers. But
well, yeah, I was. Yeah,
I know that was
just an example. I want to play. I can't think of.
I can't think of an EA game that I want to play.
Well, Hardline, Battlefield Hardline. There you go.
Yeah, but I don't really want to play Hardline. Yeah, but about this thing, it's very interesting. I think EA is probably wise to try something new for to get money coming in. This is definitely something that's different than anything else that any other publisher's doing, except maybe Sony with their PlayStation Now, but that's more of a wide access thing, like every publisher has access to that. But it's interesting to see EA roll their own, basically, and I'm honestly coming up, I think it might be a good deal if all you want to play are sports games, because really this would save you. Like if you play more than just one sports game from EA, this would probably be a pretty good deal, because you'll have all of their sports games, and you'll be able to play them, and then as soon as the next one comes out, you'll have access to that right away, and you can start playing it again. At least that's what I understand, but unless they're going to only have the free ones available, a year-old ones are only available free. But if that's the case, then that wouldn't be a good deal at all.
Yeah, it really depends on what they populate the service with. At a glance, it sounds like a nice idea. $30 a year, and you can play a bunch of games. Okay, you also get 10% discount on things you want to buy, and early access to some games if you buy them. Sounds good to me. EA just doesn't have much I want to play, which actually works out okay for me because EA has nothing on the Wii U right now. So
yeah.
I'm actually kind of glad that EA doesn't have anything I want to play, because odds are I wouldn't have been able to play it anyway. So I think it's an interesting deal. I think it's a good first step at least. It's a beta, so they're still trying things out. Sony doesn't seem particularly impressed, however. Sony said this service, EA Access, the service is on Xbox One, but it's not on PS4. Sony says, we evaluated the EA Access subscription offering and decided it does not bring the kind of value PlayStation customers have come to expect.
It just kind of makes you wonder what Sony knows about this, about the plans for this program that the public doesn't know about yet. Because I could definitely see, if EA's not willing to release their newest games and only releasing a year-old games on the service, then yeah, that's a terrible deal. But it just definitely makes you wonder what EA or Sony knows about this plan that nobody else knows.
Yeah. Hold on. It's interesting that Sony says that this EA Access has no value, or doesn't bring the kind of value that PlayStation customers have come to expect, because Sony is also offering its own little rental service called PlayStation Now, also in beta, which
is actually a terrible idea, but yeah. Sorry.
Which you can rent a selection of games. Currently, there's about 100 for different prices depending on how much time you want to rent them for. So it's not standardized. There are, at least as of a couple of days ago, here are a few of the prices. NASCAR 14. You could rent it for 90 days for $40. Dirt 3, 90 days for $26.99. Grid 2 for 90 days comes in at $22.99. Okay, so they're kind of all over the place.
Yeah, and then there's some of them where it's like the 90-day rental either costs the same or more than a brand new disc.
Here's one right here. Deus Ex Human Revolution, which is an awesome game, and you should all get it for the Wii U. You could, if you only wanted to play it for 4 hours, you could rent it for 4 hours for $5. You could rent it for 7 days for $7. You could rent it for 30 days for $15, or rent it for 90 days for $30. Or you could buy it right now for about $18.
Exactly. It just boggles my mind. What publishers think. They are. Sometimes they're just so disconnected from the consumers. Even the 4-hour price is a terrible deal. Sure. Redbox doesn't have the widest selection of games, but it's $2 for a full 24 hours actually more than 24 hours, because if you get it early enough in the day, you don't have to return it for more than until 9 o'clock the next day. So you could theoretically get it for like 36 hours or more, and that's $2 for a game, and when for 4 hours, a lot of these publishers are like, yeah, give me $5 and you can play it for 4 hours. It's like, that's not even worth it just to try the game out. That's if it was like a $1 for 4 hours, yeah, that's definitely worth trying it out. Sure. It's like, yeah, I got a couple hours to spare this tonight. Let's try out this game and see if I want to actually buy it. But for $5, I would never touch it. Not at all.
The 4-hour rental seems to range about $4 to $5. Although some interviews said we're gonna get those down to like $1.99. But like you said,
would have to be less than that. Still.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I remember renting stuff from Blockbuster. Remember rental stores, kids? I remember renting video games from Blockbuster Video, and you could have them for like 5 days for a few dollars. This is
I'm trying to remember, because when I was in college, my wife and I, we would rent video games from Hollywood Video. Now there is a blast from the past.
Yep.
Everybody remembers Blockbuster, but Hollywood Video, nobody remembers them.
Had that too,
yeah. I'm trying to remember the prices, but I think it was usually like for a 5-day rental, it was something like $5. So basically $1 a day, and so and that was my wife and I, that was a great deal because we couldn't afford to actually buy video games, so we would go and see what video games we wanted to rent, and we would get it, and that would be our game for the month basically. And we played a lot of that was a good time too, because it was we would rent RPGs, like Final Fantasy X and Ark the Lad, Twilight of the Spirit and stuff, and so I would play the game while my wife would watch, and she would just be there for the story and stuff, and I was there for the grind, and so it was definitely a lot of fun doing that, but I wouldn't be we wouldn't be able to do that with PlayStation Now, or the EA Access, if they actually had some games that were worth it, that might be an actual good deal. But
yeah, the other thing is when the beta started, this may have since changed, but when the beta started, the 4 hours started when you bought it, not when you started playing it. So you could run a game for 4 hours and then be like, oh, my pizza's in the oven. And then go get it and eat your pizza and wash it down with root beer or whatever, and get back and it's like, oh crap, I only have 2.5 hours left of my rental.
Yeah, that's terrible. I know that a lot of digital movie services had a similar problem. I'm trying to remember a specific one. I think it might have been Amazon Prime, but they had a similar problem where if the rental time that you got the movie was started when you hit, you paid for it. You paid for the rental, and that was when it started. But you had to actually download the video. So if you were on a slow connection, it would take a while to download the video, and that cut into how much time you had to watch it. And then if you didn't start watching it immediately, it was just like a whole big stupid mess, and it was just like, yeah, this isn't gonna cut it. So it definitely has to be from when you first start playing, and not from when you check out, because that's totally stupid.
Yeah. I had one more comment on this, and I don't remember what it was. But so it's interesting to see Sony and Microsoft trying out similar services. Well, actually, they're not that similar. One is a rental service, and one is a subscription
service, all you can
a la carte, or whatever as long as, like Netflix, give us however many dollars a month and you can play as much as you want. The other thing is they're competing with an actual video game rental service, GameFly, which I think is like $20 a month, and I don't know how many you get out at one time, probably one, but
I think at $20 is just one game. But the problem with GameFly is just they don't have enough distribution centers, because here in Oklahoma, the closest one I think is in Texas, but it still takes like 3 days or 3 or 4 days for a game to get here. So and with one game had out at a time, that's 6 to 8 days out of the month that you can't really play games. If you're only doing like 2 games a month, and you play a game for 2 weeks and send it back in. But yeah.
So they're interesting services. I think both could head in interesting and, from a gamer perspective, valuable directions. They are both in beta right now, so I'm willing to cut them both some slack. I try not to be too hard on these services. Although, beta or not, some of these decisions range from eyebrow raising to almost blatant money grubbing, which is some of what Sony, the PlayStation Now service, sounds like. It's like, no, but we can charge that much. Some people will play it. Well, we need to get more money.
I will say this, if one of the major consoles wanted to release announce a video game subscription service where you get access to the entire console catalog, even if it was like $50 a month, to have access to every single game in their catalog would probably be pretty cool, and I'd probably go for it. Especially like a company like Nintendo, where it's like not just their regular games, but also their virtual console games. That would be totally awesome.
I think people would, and I'm certainly not the first to suggest this, but virtual console having some type of subscription service where you pay X dollars a month for access to virtual console, and you just play whatever the hell you want. The only problem is Nintendo is not very good about, and there are reasons for this. Virtual console releases are very few and far between.
Yeah.
And that's because Nintendo can be perfectionists. It usually is. And it's got to emulate each game, and it's got to make sure that it works correctly. And a lot of the new stuff has Miiverse integration and things like that. So they're probably. I still think they could really go faster, because I've seen people get Super Mario Brothers and things like that running in a browser faster than Nintendo can seem to. So, but it's interesting that Nintendo. Once again, it seems to be kind of behind everyone else here. It doesn't really have a similar service. I mean, it just about 3-4 weeks ago, we just heard that one game. I think SteamWorld Dig was going to be its first cross-buy game, and people are like, "Yes, yay, finally, a golf clap." But what it's like now is they can't seem to get the cross-buy thing working, so it's going to end up being more of a buy it on Wii U, be able to purchase it for less money on the 3DS, and vice versa.
This wouldn't have been a big deal if they had a single user account across all consoles. This whole separate account for separate consoles thing is just that's what's causing the problem right there. If it was just a single account, and you had one purchase history, no matter whether you bought it on the 3DS or the Wii U, it would have been, no problem at all to do cross-buy.
Well, technically, it is a single unified account. It's just locked to specific hardware. It does. It is a single account. It just doesn't work the way people want it to work.
Well, it's like I have an iPhone. And I have an iPad. I buy a game using iTunes on my iPhone. I go onto my iPad. It's right there waiting for me too. That's how these accounts should be.
Yeah. If you buy a game and it's available for both platforms, and it's the same game on both platforms, you should not have to buy it twice to play it on each platform.
Yeah.
Should not have to.
Not at all.
So on the ball, Nintendo. Here's the ball. Here's you. Get over here and get on the ball. So that required a visual aid. Okay, so Matthew suggests $50 a month for all software. All software currently available, or if all software were available on the Virtual Console, you'd be willing to pay $50 a month for it.
Yeah, well, I mentioned the $50 a month too. And, if it was every single game, on their system, I think $50 a month would probably be worth it, because that's what most people would spend, on it. But maybe tier it, say it's like $25 a month for half the games, whatever they define half the games as, and then $50 for the entire library.
Like maybe separated out by platform or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, like say $50 a month for every game, but $25 a month only for the purely digital titles. Where the $50 a month will actually get you digital versions of all the disc-based games. Maybe that's a good way to separate them out.
Yeah. So, all right, drifted into Nintendo there, but that's
yeah.
that happened, especially with me.
That happens all the time.
So, moving on, there was an interesting story this week. Facepunch Rust developer Facepunch Studios has garnered the ire of some of its community by announcing that it is working on prototypes for games in addition to developing Rust, which is in early access on Steam right now. And it's a small studio. Apparently, it has about 25 people. And the community, many in the community said, "What the heck? Why don't you finish Rust first, and then you can go ahead and work on other games?" The complaint being that they were afraid that they were pulling people off of Rust to start new projects, and and also that development would slow and maybe even stop. Like, oh, you got my money for Rust Early Access, so now you're just not going to finish the game and move on to greener pastures. And let's see, Gary Newman, who is a Facepunch leader. I don't know who this guy is. He's so high guy with Facepunch. Says
he's the one doing all the talking.
Yeah, he responded to the naysayers and says, "Are we crazy? Are we doing it wrong? Should every person in the company be working on the same thing? Should HBO make one TV show at a time? Should Warner Brothers make one movie at a time?" And he goes on and on like that, comparing. This is interesting. He says, "You bought early access to it. When you buy a pizza, you aren't funding Domino's. You're just buying a pizza." Well, actually, you are kind of funding Domino's by buying it. But yeah, he says that Rust is will be updated very regularly, and that the people who are working on Rust will continue to work on the game. They're not working on the prototypes, which should be obvious by the development blogs that they post every week.
Yeah.
So, we in our comment section we had a person or two who didn't really like the tone of this guy. I personally kind of like that straight shooter tone as compared to the sanitized PR speak. And
yeah, definitely.
It's just kind of refreshing to hear, I think.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm I'm the lead developer of Divine Knight Gaming, which is essentially a two-man shop, but we're both working part-time. My brother is working even more part-time than I am because he's still in school and working and stuff. So, and so we as a two-man shop, we really can't focus on more than one game at a time. It's just like one game, and that's what we're working on. But you mentioned that these guys probably around 25 developers.
Yeah, Gary Newman clarified to Eurogamer that there are 25 people on staff, and 5 of them are working on prototypes of games independent of Rust. none of Rust's developers have been taken off the project to create other games.
And that sounds very reasonable to me. It's 20 people working on this one game, and you're complaining that 5 people aren't working on that game too. That just it just screams entitlement to me. As a game developer, if you have the resources, you really should be staggering your game production. Here's game 1, here's game 2. See the overlap there? That needs to happen, because if you're trying to do it like this, you're going to end up having a gap in there where nobody's doing anything because you're trying to plan out your next game, and people are just going to be twiddling their thumbs. But if you have 5 people that can be working on your next project while you're finishing up your current one, that's excellent business management as far as I'm concerned. So I think kudos to these guys for figuring out how they can work that out, because as an indie developer, you really you can't take a break. Basically, as an indie developer, you have to constantly be working in order to keep money coming in. And so any time where there's a gap between releases, you're basically losing money at that point, because that other game is not going to be bringing in as much money after a while, and if your next game isn't out when that one stops being profitable, then you're screwed.
Yeah. Now, if it were a much smaller, and it's a small developer, 25 isn't huge, but if it were
that's not huge at all.
Like Diversity, I think its name is, the one's doing the Ninja Pizza Girl Kickstarter, that's, I think, 3 people. Now, if they did the Kickstarter was successful and they started working on it and they got people's money and they're like, hey, we're announcing 3 new projects, it's like, you sure you don't want to actually work on Ninja Pizza Girl and finish the game before starting something else? That I could see, because it's 3 people, as far as I know. But this one's 25 people, and he says only 5 of them are working on other projects, and it sounds like people that were brought in to work on other things. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and and this is a totally different situation than last week. There was that story about these guys were squatting in a condo through Airbnb, and it turned out that they were also the same developers on this Kickstarter project, and it turned out these guys hadn't bothered releasing the game, like they hadn't done anything over the last few months, and they announced they launched a new Kickstarter for another game, and that one failed, or is failing as we speak, I think. But still, that's the kind of situation that makes you go, what are you guys doing? What happened to the development on the other game? Because that's just 2 guys. But this is 25 people. Perfectly reasonable to take 5 of them and say, start planning out our next project, start prototyping it out so that we can be ready to switch gears when Rust is fully developed and released. So.
Yeah. I want to read this because it's just funny. Here is one of the comments. Some of the feedback that Facepunch Studios got when it announced that it was, working on some other prototypes. This person inquires, how are you gonna start a new game with the other one not even finished? That's like taking a dump, putting that dump on standby, and starting a new one with the old one still up in there. Oh, internet never change.
That just makes no sense whatsoever. Oh man. For all the flack anonymous comments get, across a wide swath of people, it's stuff like that just makes it all worth it. It's just like, keep being dumb, people, because you give us smart people a laugh.
Yeah. So I saw this next story yesterday at Kotaku, and I immediately added it to the discussion schedule. A few GameStops in Philadelphia require you to submit scans of your fingerprints if you want to trade games at their store. And as I'm sure everyone listening to this knows, GameStop's major deal is selling games and trading games. So in a few in a few stores in Philly, you want to trade games? Well, you got to get fingerprinted.
Now, is this for trading games, or like if you went in and got store credit, do you have to get fingerprinted, or is it just when you want to get cash? Because that's a very, very important distinction as far as I'm concerned.
Does GameStop actually give you cash? I thought they only gave you store credit.
I think they still give cash. It may vary. I don't know. But if they do give you cash, it's always less than you would get with store credit.
Chatbots. Do you guys know?
Like if you got $10 in store credit, you would get like $7 in cash. Is how it usually worked. As far as I remember. But yeah, that's a very important distinction as far as I'm concerned. But still, maybe they do have it going for all trade-ins.
Well, the idea behind this is to nip in the bud. Apparently, they're having an issue with people stealing games and selling them back to GameStop. So I guess they are able to get money from it, because otherwise they'd just be getting more games. The thing, I've read a couple articles on this, and I'm not clear about how the fingerprinting is done. It says you need to provide fingerprint scans. Do they have a scanner there? Do you have to photocopy your, find a photocopier and do that and give them the paper? Do you have to go to the police and get yourself ink blotted and just get a scanned copy of that?
You can get little USB connected fingerprint scanners for computers. And it's just like, it's a little pad. It's for a single finger, and so you'd probably put like your first index finger on your right, or your index finger on your right hand, and just scan that, because usually that's enough to get identify somebody via fingerprints. So they may just be using a single scanner like that, because those are actually fairly cheap, and it wouldn't cost that much for GameStops around the city or whatever to implement. But yeah, this is one of those things that you hear about these things all the time, because secondhand sales is really the only way for thieves to get rid of their stuff. When they steal something, they have to get cash for it somewhere, and whether a lot of times, depending on the product, you can do a face-to-face sale, just find a buyer and get it. But for things like games and stuff, it's just easier to go to GameStop and say, here, I've got 200 games where half of them are duplicates of the other half. I want to trade these in. That's easier than going on to Craigslist and saying, here, I've got 200 games. Somebody buy them from me. Because that takes forever, and usually thieves want to get everything off their hands as quickly as possible. And so a lot of states and a lot of cities are make video game stores function as pawn shops would, when it comes to the law. So you got to do that, and I think it's kind of annoying, and it really bugs the crap out of honest customers. But if you're an honest customer and you are willing to wait, Craigslist is fine as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
you get more money for it that way too.
Some GameStop customers were interviewed by Philadelphia's CBS News, and one customer said, "I really don't appreciate it. You fingerprinted me like I'm in a police district. No, I'm at a game store." I think it's an overreach. I think it's going too far. GameStop says it's a process that we've recently implemented, starting in early July, in Philadelphia area stores at the request of the Philadelphia Police Department. It's a practice we've also put in place in other parts of the U.S., depending on local or statewide secondhand dealer or pawnbroker laws. However, at this time, we're reviewing the process to determine if it's one which should be continued in Philadelphia. So a lot of the scuttlebutt is GameStop is doing this because the police asked GameStop to do it according to pawn laws, and then GameStop corporate said, okay, do this. Interestingly, though, Shelley Smith, who is a city solicitor in Philadelphia, said what GameStop does not meet any of the elements of the definition of the code, so the pawn breaker ordinance does not apply to GameStop.
Yeah.
So,
well, when I worked at EB Games, and this was back in 2003 when I worked there, so it's over 11 years here. But when I worked at EB Games out in Arizona, the law was that the consoles, we had to get their ID and put in all their contact information, fill out the police form, and send that off to the police so that they could verify the sale or verify the ownership and all that stuff. And we weren't allowed to resell consoles that we got in trade. We weren't allowed to resell those for I think 2 weeks after taking them in, because we had to wait for the police to verify it all. But the games themselves, no problem. You could come in with 300 games and we'd trade them all. For the 25 cents to $1 we'd give you for them, because at the time they were crappy games and that nobody wanted. So
what do you think of this particular program? As a customer, would this bother you? Would you object to it?
I would not go to GameStop to sell if they wanted my fingerprints. Frankly, if all I'm selling are games, I'm not even willing to do much of anything. I just say, here's my games, I want credit or whatever. I don't want to have to deal with all the forms and crap like that. If I have to go through all that, I'm more than willing to piecemeal sell it on Craigslist, because it's not worth doing more than just saying, here's my games, give me trade-in value for them. Because that's all I want. I don't want to spend more time than I have to in the store.
Yeah. Me personally, I don't know. It depends on how much of an inconvenience. If I had to go to a police station to get my fingerprints done, I'd be like, "Ah, hell with it." If it was something really quick, easy, and convenient that I could do in the store, it'd be like, "Okay, you want money for this game? Put your thumb here." Well, okay. That it? Yeah, good. Money gone. If it's that easy, I don't care. But I'm pretty easygoing. I constantly say hi to the NSA when I'm on the phone, and I leave little PS notes for them in my emails. I don't mind that they're listening to my phone calls and reading my emails. I enjoy the company. I'm lonely.
Yeah, but the problem I have here is that programs like this, treat everybody as if they're criminals. It's a guilty until proven innocent type situation.
Yeah.
If you're coming in to trade in games, you're being accused of being a thief. And that's the way I look at it, and I wish more people would look at it that way too, because it's just that kind of behavior frustrates me, and I have a lot of problems when it comes to laws like that, where the whole concept of justice has been turned on its head. Because I'm on a similar vein. I'm against the idea of taking DNA samples of anybody that's arrested. A lot of states are trying to pass laws where if you're arrested for any reason whatsoever, they get to take your DNA and then use that and look up cold cases, compare it to DNA samples from cold cases and whatever. I don't think that's right. And same thing here. They're getting something that can be used to identify you. That they're going to use to try to connect you to other crimes or to crimes that somebody may or may not have committed. And it's just it's not something that I can agree with at all.
Yeah, well, I don't know. If you want my DNA, hold out your hand. I'll hock a loogie into it. knock yourself out. That's what that was disgusting. Why did I say that? Well, that's all we have to talk about. I think because we got such a late start, that we may have come in under an hour this time.
Yeah,
so.
I've got us at 56 minutes right now.
All right, so let's thank you everyone who stuck with us. I'm very sorry that we continue to have technical problems. We'll probably stick to, at least for next week, we'll stick to Google Hangout for the broadcast, and I'll embed the Twitch chat on Game Politics so that we have a chat that we can use to chat. Does that make sense? If any of you have a different solution in mind for this type of live streaming podcast, hey, send us a note. Our email address is superpackpodcast@gmail.com, so make use of that. May as well sign off. My name's Andrew Eisen, E-I-S-E-N. Find me on Twitter @Andrew Eisen. I have YouTube. Just type in Andrew Eisen. You'll find it. I've got a new video that I have to go back to editing here since we finished the show. It's about Nintendo's recent quarterly financials. Isn't that exciting? And I have a Facebook fan page, Andrew Eisen YouTube. So like that page, and there's some updates and stuff there. And it's probably one of the easier ways to connect with me because Google makes it difficult to do on YouTube. So yeah, that's it. Zachary, plug away.
All right. You can follow me on Twitter at EZKnight, and you can also check out DK_gaming for all my game development work. You know, I'm currently doing one game a month, and right now I'm taking part in the Game Boy Jam, so I'm working on making a Game Boy style game. So that'll happen over the course of the next week, and you can also check out OK Game Devs on Twitter. It's okgamedev.com, and for all the news about Oklahoma game development stuff. So there you go.
All right. You've been listening to episode 108 of Super Podcast Action Committee. Again, email superpackpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter @superpackpodcast. Subscribe and rate on iTunes, and like us on Facebook. We'll be back next week, hopefully with a smoother running show that actually starts at 6. So once again, thank you everyone for your patience and for sticking with us. We'll see you next week. Take care.
All right. See ya.